anyway, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic. Welcome to everyone joining us today. So happy to be here as usual. This is our monthly Ask Our Expert series. And this month we are doing something brand new. It's pretty exciting. We are doing Ask Our Experts How to Win at Salary Negotiation. And I had to bring Jenn Wade in, our Chief Marketing Officer. Jenn, you have been with Copper State Credit Union for 6 years. Is that correct?
That is right, Christina.
And she has shared that her favorite part of the job is helping her team members kind of along their personal career journeys, as well as connecting our Copper State Credit Union brand and who we are with the members. Sounds like a really fun, awesome job. But, this is not necessarily something you would expect to be part of your job. But I appreciate you coming on this evening for Facebook Live. Something I do know about you, Jenn, is that you are very passionate about helping people to advocate for themselves in the workplace. I mean, really anywhere, but just empowering us people to have those difficult conversations about pay, about benefits, and not shying away from those, because sometimes it's needed. And we'll get into the whole nitty-gritty of it, but Jenn, thank you so much for being here. Really excited to have you.
Thank you, Christina. So excited to be here as well and to chat with you. This topic is something I'm very passionate about, so I can't wait to dive in.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to allow you to start talking about something as awkward as how much money, we all make, but we're going to start with something fun about you. Give me a fun fact. What do you like to do in your free time?
Oh man, I love to travel. So anywhere and everywhere I am game. Right now I'm exploring lots of national parks. And
do you get the badge? You've got to get the badge every time you go.
Oh my gosh, I don't have that yet. And everyone keeps saying that. So I have to get on board with the badge. Absolutely.
As I started saying that, I thought, maybe that's just for kids, but
it's fine.
You should still do it.
Thank you.
All right. So let's start by talking about why it's so uncomfortable to talk about pay in the workplace. Whether it's talking to your boss, talking to leadership, talking to coworkers, why do we feel like it's so difficult and it's something we just don't want to do? Let's start there.
Yeah. So first, it's a hard topic. First and foremost, it is. And, there's some fear around what may come from this type of conversation with your boss, of course. Yeah, it's hard. And then when you're sharing salary information, that can create some tension between colleagues, and some people may even feel some resentment towards management with that. So it can be tricky, certainly.
Yeah, and it's even just the perception of that happening, right? Like, even if that doesn't happen, it's thinking that it's going to happen. Isn't that like half of the battles we fight in life, or what we think is going to happen?
That is absolutely it. Perception, we could be our own worst enemy and come up with a million things in our head that may happen.
Yeah.
And, that won't necessarily be the outcome. So it's being able to go over that. That's it. You just have to try.
Yeah. And it seems kind of like we are working towards an environment where the conversation about pay is a little more transparent than it used to be. So that helps as we begin the conversation. But I appreciate you acknowledging that it is difficult, right? It's not like you're coming on here and saying, oh, it's so easy, just do this. Like, you're acknowledging that it is a tricky conversation to have, no matter what, at any position you're in.
Yes, absolutely.
So give me a reason why, if this is so difficult, if this is a challenging thing for us, why should we even bother, right? Like, why do I need to negotiate pay if I'm, planning on starting a new job? Why is that important for me?
Quite simply, I think it's about personal financial wellness. And you may know a little bit about that topic.
What? No. Those of you who don't know, I am the financial wellness person at the credit union. I do all sorts of webinars, and I work with a team of awesome people to create a lot of content around financial wellness and provide that to members. So I do really love everything financial wellness. So please go on.
Yes. So this definitely falls in that realm. Think of it this way: for someone that's just starting their career, not negotiating your pay can have an impact on the rest of your career. So what I mean by that, I've seen data that's comparing someone that negotiates at the start of their career versus someone that did not negotiate. And the difference in the lifetime earnings could be about $1 million.
That seems crazy to me.
It's a lot. That's
a huge amount of money. But I mean, I guess if you think about it, if you're in the workforce 40, 50, or more years, I guess it would add up to be quite a lot. Even if at the beginning, I imagine it's not that much of a difference in a monetary sense between, what you negotiate and what you would have gotten otherwise. But over time, what you're saying is it adds up a lot.
Yeah, it absolutely adds up. And I mean, that's really just so much money to leave on the table simply because this can be an uncomfortable topic. And, this isn't just for the starters here in their career. It's also for anyone, any stage of your career.
So is it like a one and done, kind of thing? You either do it or you can never do it again?
Not quite. This is something that, it's going to come up throughout your career where you have these opportunities to negotiate.
Yeah. I guess unless you're like my dad, who stayed at the same company for 45 years and is now retiring, right? I guess he only had one chance.
That's awesome.
So who does this apply to, this advice? We're going to get in a moment, we're going to share 3 of our best tips, right? And coming from you, Jen, that is extremely valuable. I'm very excited to hear what those are. But who are we talking to here? Is this only for people in management? Is this only for entry-level positions, hourly, salary, seasonal? There are so many different types of employment out there. Who is this going to apply to?
Yeah, the tips that I'm going to share really applies to anyone who is looking to have that compensation conversation with their manager. So anyone and everyone.
Good to know.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear that. So your advice on negotiating with your employer, talking about pay, benefits, all of the fun things, you said it really comes down to 3 tips that you're going to share. So I'm dying to know, please tell me, what is the first one?
Yes. So I have to give a disclaimer here. These 3 tips really come from a variety of sources. I've had some amazing managers over the years who have shared great insight. Yes. Yeah. And colleagues as well throughout my career, as well as being a manager myself, my team members have come back and given me insight. So this is a collection of all that pared down into just 3 things. So the first one in this list, this is, such a good one. Be specific about your value. So,
okay.
So what this means is really pinpoint those key areas that you've created or managed in your role that have a direct line to show that it's creating success for the company, for your company as a whole.
Yeah.
And use real numbers here. Don't speak in ambiguous terms. Really hone in on some good, valuable data because that's so important. And this really should not just be a list of the tasks that you see in your job description and how you've checked the box and completed them. This is going above that and showing that value.
Yeah, being really specific,
yes.
It sounds like, is something that you would want to do. And almost like a living resume, right? Like keeping track of what it is that you're becoming good at, and writing down numbers when possible, just specific items to really, almost build. It's not like you're taking that resume and going out and getting a new job every 10 minutes, but building that, I don't know, that reserve of knowledge and skills and data to show your value to wherever you work, right?
Yes, Christina, that's a great recommendation, to put that in one place in your resume, keeping it updated with this information. You can reference this whenever you are ready to have this type of conversation with your boss. It makes it just a really easy go-to to have that conversation, and you have your specific points ready to go.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's a lot easier to say, I'm just really awesome, so I should get a raise. Like, that is not as meaningful as, I have 5-star reviews from the last 37 customers that have walked into our store, or, whatever the example is. I think that getting that real specific data and connecting it, yeah, that makes so much sense. I appreciate you sharing that with us this evening. So what's your next tip? So what's the second thing that everyone should really keep in mind when having this conversation?
Yeah, so tip number 2, have a clear understanding of your company's compensation strategies. So really take the time to familiarize yourself with your company's guidelines before you ask for a raise. So
why would you want to do that?
Yeah.
What could go wrong if I don't?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, more and more companies are becoming transparent about how they make pay decisions. And so if you have this knowledge, that's going to help you build your confidence for this discussion, because you don't want to be in a scenario where you've done the tip number 1, you have, those numbers ready, but you didn't do your research about your company's compensation policy. And it might be a situation of maybe a little bit of egg on your face, because you didn't necessarily need to have the conversation. This was already something coming up.
Maybe it was like a scheduled raise that was going to happen anyway. Is that what you mean?
Exactly. And so you didn't do your research and you didn't know that. Or, it could be the opposite. Maybe the timing isn't quite right and in alignment with how your company sets up the timing for these types of discussions. So,
or the pay ranges don't align, or, there could be so many factors that, we just don't know, because they are different in every single place that you work. So I guess being familiar with those, and even just knowing, like you saying that, now we all know, like, a lot of companies are required to post information, or they make the choice to post information about pay. So that is accessible now to a lot of people in a lot of workplaces where it just simply wasn't, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that's exciting to see, that there's so much more transparency now. It just helps, I think, everyone on both sides of the table when you are having that discussion as someone who is asking for that raise, and then for your manager to feel very comfortable being so transparent. So it's pretty great to see that happening.
Absolutely. All right. What is the next thing that you want to share? Your final tip before I start asking you a million questions.
Okay. So this is another one of those before you step into the room. So before you get ready to have that conversation, make sure you have an understanding of your soft skills.
So what do you mean by soft skills?
So an example of soft skills would be the ways that you're communicating with others, how you approach tasks, your attitude towards things, how, if you're perceived as helpful with other team members, other departments, all of those are in that realm.
Okay. So that kind of reminds me of, like, I read something about our emotional intelligence in the workplace, or emotional IQ is becoming more important than like a regular IQ. Just kind of those skills, social skills in a way, that we're adapting to really become efficient and work together as teams in the workplace.
Yes.
Sounds kind of like along those lines.
That's exactly it. And, it's really kind to be able to break it down. And I know it's so hard because self-evaluation can be tricky. So if you have a trusted colleague that you could ask to give you an honest answer on how you approach tasks, your attitude overall in the workplace, your ability to listen and work together with others, they feel very common sense, but it's really nice to have that, that extra insight.
That other person, instead of just having to try to figure it out yourself. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's so funny though. I can't get through a webinar without making a Zoom joke. Like, before you step into the room, before you sign on to Zoom, be aware of your soft skills.
There you go.
You can't really tell soft skills as much over Zoom, but still seems to be the world we are living in for a little while longer.
Yes.
That is really helpful. So we want to be specific. We want to understand the company's compensation strategy as a whole and how we kind of fit into that so that we don't look, ridiculous going in with a different plan.
Yes.
And being self-aware of just, how I'm coming across, I guess, in that meeting and just in general. So those are some really, really good tips. I'm so glad that you shared those. So let's say I do this, right? It's like tomorrow I go to my boss and I have this conversation. What if it doesn't go well? What's next?
Yeah, and this is, I like to think of this as a 50-50 chance. It's 50% it could go great, 50% maybe not quite as you expected.
Yeah.
So you do the work, you get prepared, you go in, and it doesn't go quite as intended. That certainly can happen. And for a variety of reasons, not just because, you didn't do a great job. It can be many other factors that are related to your company, to your manager.
Right.
So this is not, as we talked about, one and done. This is something that, try to gain some insight from the conversation. Take that and know that you're going to go again. You're going to have this conversation again.
Yeah. And whether it's, now or it's down the road at a different employer, whether it's with this current manager or a different one, you're still, it sounds like it's almost practicing something that's difficult to do, but you're getting better at it by just trying it, I guess.
That's it. This is, each time it is practice. So this level of being uncomfortable with it, it's going to get better every time you're going in and you're feeling confident and prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jenn, before you go, I really want to know if you had to pick one thing that you wanted our audience to take away today from this conversation about salary negotiation, whether it's at the beginning, like a lot of people are starting new jobs right now, and it's an exciting time to be starting a new job or a new career path even. So whether they're at that point or it's a place they've already been for a while and they're looking to have that conversation with their current manager, what is your takeaway that you want all of us to have and to remember?
Yeah, so keep in mind that this conversation, the goal here is that it's twofold. This is really first an opportunity to practice, as we've talked about, practice. This is going to help with making this even easier. And also, this is a way that you're going to get some insight into your performance and that perceived value as an employee. So it's really great for gathering that information for yourself. And honestly, at the end of all this is a hard thing to do. Just going into the room, having the conversation. I mean, that deserves a pat on the back. That deserves just just really giving yourself like, okay, I did this. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so true. I'm glad you ended with that, because sometimes you don't take a minute and acknowledge when something's really hard, and we did it anyway, right?
Yes.
So that was really helpful, Jenn. Thank you so much for joining me. And I just want to let everyone know, in case you weren't aware, we do have lots of resources available on our website, copperstatecu.org. If you go to up in the top menu, free webinars is where we have all of our event info for upcoming events. And then if you go to the About section, you'll see the Resource Center, and that's where we have financial calculators. We have coaches that walk you through different scenarios, lots of articles, ebooks. We have all of our webinars on demand in that section as well. So if you're interested in learning more from Copper State Credit Union, we are here. We love doing this and just talking to members and sharing the knowledge that our leadership has at the credit union. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Jenn. Hope you have a great evening.
Thank you, Christina. This is awesome.
Bye.
Bye.